The main aim of this particular mission was for Endeavour to rendezvous with the International Space Station and continue the construction of it. The astronauts were to spend 7 days docked to the ISS, delivering, assembling and operate the US-supplied electrical power system on board the station. This included the delivery of the solar arrays and batteries, as well as radiators to provide cooling. These will be the first of a total of 8 sets of solar arrays that, once completed, will comprise the station's electrical power system, converting sunlight to electricity. Using the shuttle's robot arm, Canadian astronaut Marc Garneau moved the solar array into position above the truss structure and drove it home to its installation point. They then secured bolts on each of the 4 corners of the array assembly before Garneau released it from the arm. Pilot Mike Bloomfield took over arm operations and moved Noriega around the array as he connected the power command and data cables. These pictures came from a camera attached to Noriega's helmet. The spacewalker was working some 50 feet above the cargo bay of the Endeavour, which itself was about 235 miles above Russia at this time. Next, they released the 2 solar array blanket boxes. They had been mounted on the blanket, enabling them to be folded like an accordion for delivery. But the initial computer commands to release the pins holding the blanket boxes closed were not successful. The commands were repeated, and the pins on the starboard blanket boxes released. But one pin on the port side blanket box remained in the closed position. It was decided to proceed with the deployment of the starboard solar wing, and the International Space Station slowly unfurled the first half of the solar array. The structure housing the arrays and associated electronics was mated to the station's truss structure about an hour into the spacewalk. Flight controllers decided it was not necessary to attempt to deploy the port wing to allow time to ascertain whether the solar wing that was deployed was properly tensioned. After tests were carried out, it was discovered that the wing was indeed functioning well and sending electrical power to the structure's systems. The spacewalk lasted for 7 hours and 33 minutes. Several days later, the second solar panel was deployed, but in a much slower and more deliberate manner, taking almost 2 hours. By contrast, the other solar wing, the starboard wing, was deployed non-stop in about 13 minutes. Deployment of the port wing was delayed while ground controllers studied a possible problem in one of 2 blankets that made up the starboard structure. They believed the 2 tensioning cables had jumped off their guides during deployment. Despite that, the starboard array was functioning well and producing electricity for the space station. The deployment was scheduled to begin with Endeavour and the space station in daylight, and with television coverage available so that the experts could watch deployment from mission control. The deployment was slow with stops and starts. But it's important because it will eventually supply power to the station, enabling it to conduct basic and applied research in its microgravity environment.